Hello everyone. The fly I'm going to tie today is a parachute ant with a polypropylene post. The first thing I did was put some thread wraps onto the hook, and then I coated those thread wraps just on the bottom side with some crazy glue. I draped my polypropylene over the hook, being careful not to get any glue on this side. You'll see why in a minute. Once it's dry, the next thing I'm going to do is wrap my post, which is the most important part of the fly. And I'm going to use Danville's ultrafine monofilament for this. This is dry. What I do is make a bunch of these ahead of time, and I let them dry into this position, and then I come back and I attach my monofilament, and I'm going to wind back onto this post, gathering the fibers. Now I wouldn't be able to gather them if I let the super glue run to this side of the hook. So I'm going to hold on to that post, keep it up on top, and as I wrap, they're going to lay down and move towards the center of the hook. That's where I want them for this particular fly, the parachute ant. Once I get to the center, I'm going to take an open wrap, bring it back to the back, go around once, and move my thread towards the eye, gathering from the rear to the front. This creates a ton of resistance in those fibers and helps them stand straight and never twist on you. I've tried gluing them to the shank without putting the base of thread on there, and it didn't work as well. They would still end up twisting if I really wanted to twist them. Once I've done that, I'm going to go around the base a couple times to get it started, and I'm going to wrap up onto the post. The easiest way to do this is to take the post out, take the hook out, turn the post sideways, and I'm going to drop the thread over with my left hand while I hold the post with my right. I'm going to do this at least 8 to 10 or maybe even 12 times, depending on how thick the fly is going to be up on top. This particular fly is going to have nothing in the midsection, so I don't have to go way up. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to wind back down to the base. And make a couple real good firm wraps right there. Reposition my hook once again. And I'm done with the monofilament. I'm going to take it off. Monofilament is ultra fine, and it really creates a strong base for the wing without adding bulk, which is what I was looking for. Now I'm going to take my uni thread in black, since it's going to be a black ant. I could use brown if it was a cinnamon ant, or red if it was a red ant. Any color to match the body. And I'm going to make sure I cover up any of those little yellow wraps that are on the bottom of the fly. Remember, this thing was draped over. Once I'm happy with that, wind it back just to where it starts to bend. And I'm going to take my dubbing. I'm using hairline dubbing in black, and it's actually Hairtron. It's got some Antron in it. Put a little bit of dubbing on, and what we're going to do is build up the rear section of our ant. Come back just to where it starts to bend, and I'm going to create the rear section. Once I get the length that I want, now I can add the bulk that I want. And the rear section of the ant is the biggest, so I want this to be a little bit bulky. Okay, now I have that shape that I want. and advance my thread up to the front. Take some more dubbing and make a head on the ant. And I'm going to wind this right up to the eye because I'm not going to be tying off at the eye of this. Okay. And now I'll trim this wing. This wing is just for visibility purposes. I'm going to trim it down a little bit. It helped to be longer when I first started the fly to hold on to. I don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to turn the hook into vise again. Regal vise makes this extremely easy. Wind out onto my post, the base of that post that I've created. And if you've done everything well, that's very firm already. I'm going to take my hackle. I'm using a whiting hackle from the 100 packs. They have very flexible stems. Tie that in. Put some good firm wraps. You can see I'm moving the hook. Leave your thread there. Now one last step to make this a fly that you can catch many fish on is to take a little bit more super glue. And I'm going to put it right on that base before I wrap my hackle. This way that hackle won't get pulled off the top later on. I'm going to grab my hackle with the hackle pliers, come up, and I'm going to wrap one wrap under the previous. Keep going from the top down. Once I'm happy, 3 wraps is plenty. Take my thread, wind it between the body of the ant and the hackle, so everything stays up on top. You can gather any loose, wayward hackles when you do that. Take my scissors, so I don't want to cut any hackles. All I do is hold firm here and just use them like a little saw, and I can cut that. I started doing this technique after tying my clink hammer specials, which catch a real lot of fish, and they weren't as durable as I wanted them to be. And by making my post in this fashion and winding my hackle up with that little bit of super glue underneath there, this fly has become extremely durable and lasts many more fish, which is something I like. And there we have a nice parachute ant. Since this wing is just for my purpose, I'm going to cut it even shorter now. And that little yellow spot on top, you'll be able to see from across the stream.